as Foster said, we're excited to kind of roll out our new AgConnex platform. And I guess kind of really before I get into AgConnex, I want to kind of start with where we've kind of come up to this point and kind of our thought process and kind of approach with our cloud platform before I really kind of jump into AgConnex. So we actually built out our first cloud platform service in around 2015. And really the purpose and kind of the goal there was to make all of our on-prem machines accessible from a single portal in the cloud. And so we built a web application called AgConnex. We wanted to give someone within your organization the ability to have visibility and know what's happening on all of those machines without actually having to, physically go on site and physically see what those machines may be doing from a transactional perspective, as well as from a data management. Obviously there's a lot that goes into the treating season, as Foster's mentioned, and some of that is just getting, seeds set up, getting treatment products set up, getting recipes set up. We want to enable our customer base to be able to manage those machines, more easily. And kind of out of that, we found that there was a lot of value in being able to run reports. So being able to see transactions that were running on individual machines. And so we built out some different reporting. You could go and run day-end reporting and see actual transactions for a given day. How many units of seed were delivered to a specific customer, what treatments were applied. And then, we had people who would use these day-end reports and then use that as kind of their process to actually submit bills to customers. And so kind of playing out of that, in beginning of this year, we began to kind of think through, okay, how do we continue to grow and push this platform forward? And what we ended up deciding was, based on kind of where technology is today, we wanted to go ahead and build that platform from the ground up. Beginning of the year, we really kind of thought through how do we want to display data, how do we want to show data, and how do we make that data as useful and as accessible to our customers, which would be you guys. And so we ended up creating a whole new web app. This web app is accessible from your mobile device, and really the application is broken into maybe 3 or 4 different groupings. So the first one's going to be, we focused a lot on like analytics and reporting. And so once you've logged into the AgConnex portal, you can go to this analytics section and go to transaction summary. And from here, you can select your date range, as well as select which machines you want to see information from. So in this case, I have 2, 4, 6, 7 machines. And based on what I want to see today, I'm going to go ahead and select these 2 machines and go ahead and apply that. And now what I'm actually seeing here is a list of all the transactions from all the machines, from both of those machines. So you can see here, this one is from this 0014 machine, and this is from a 0015 machine. So in the case where maybe you had two machines in one facility, you could monitor both of those machines from one platform, as well as see, how much seed was being delivered. And you can even drill into each individual transaction and see treatment accuracies. So within this specific transaction, you can see that I delivered, I was just a little bit high on this one and a little bit short on this one. So you can start to see certain trends as you click through. You can kind of monitor what you're kind of trending at from a application rate, as well as how much seed is being delivered. I'll also mention these charts at the top. These are kind of evolving, and we're continuing to kind of build these out. And we love to get as much feedback on this application as possible. And so if any of you have suggestions or things you would like to see, please let Foster or the KSi team know those suggestions, and we'll be happy to either sit down and talk through those things with you or work those into our development pipelines. And so really kind of what the snapshot's showing you is kind of a general trend of how many orders are being processed per day or per week, as well as how many units of seed are being treated across the defined machine set. So if I change this to just show one machine, I'm going to see the number of units of seed that were treated per year for that specific machine. And I'll also mention that if you have a machine that is 5 years old, all of that data will actually be accessible via AgConnex. So you're not starting over. If you pulled up AgConnex today, Foster and I worked with you and got your machine, your account, and your machine set up, you would see all of that historical data for this last treating season as well. The idea here is that you can kind of filter and you can filter this data from this interface without having to export it out to Excel. So if there's a specific customer you have in mind and a specific seed variety and you want to know how much of a specific seed was delivered to a specific customer, you can run that and you're gonna, or actually, yeah, and you'll see how many transactions were processed based on those criteria. You are able to export those out, so you can export these out, and this will basically just send you an email with the filtered data set as you see it here. So that's something you can do if you want to do advanced analytics on it that you may not have available to you from the UI here. The other thing that I kind of draw everyone's attention to is two new things that we're going to be adding to AgConnex that did not exist previously in CConnex that we're really excited about is the ability to do triggered reporting. Within here, you're able to define a specific machine and say, I want every time a transaction is processed for a given machine, I want to email that transaction to someone. So it could be billing, at KSiEdge.com. As well as we can do transaction summaries. So this would be something that we can trigger on a weekly or daily basis. So if you want a day-end report, so let's say your billing department wants to reconcile all of the bills that are being processed through your specific accounting billing software, we can send them a day-end report for a given machine, and they can reconcile that and make sure no orders were missed because of maybe a paper got lost, for example. So they're able to kind of keep track of that, as well as liquid usage. So we could give a report daily or weekly and say, hey, this is how much of a specific product was delivered today or within the last week. So moving from there into alerting, and this one, again, I'm really excited. This is a way for you to set up more defined alerts for a given machine. And so one example would be like a product alert. So if you have a high dollar product and you want to know every time that product falls out of tolerance or is, let's say you overtreat with this specific product, you want to be notified of that. And you'll be able to come in and configure that and say, for this specific product, if it runs 5% high on 3 orders, I want to be notified. So what we want to do there is we really want to give you enough ability to define and kind of configure those alerts, but we really want it to be set up to where you have the ability to refine those searches to only the things that you really want to be notified about. So that's something you'll be able to come in and set those up for products and seeds and machine status information. I'd also mention for reporting and alerting, that's something that's currently in development right now. And it's something that we're hopeful will be released in the next 3 to 6 months. And so that's not something you would have access to today, but we're hoping that will be rolled out soon. And the next part of AgConnex that I think that is important, and I think as it comes to, how machines, like the data on machines, whether it's the customers or products or seeds, that will be able to be managed from AgConnex as well. So at the beginning of the year, you don't have to go around to every physical machine and set up all of your seed varieties or the treatment products. You can actually come into AgConnex. I'm going to switch over here. So you can go into AgConnex, select the machine you want. You'll get a list of the customers that are on the machine. You can go ahead and create a customer and save that in. Same is true for seeds. You're able to come in here, see the seeds that are actually on the machine, as well as create a seed for that machine. As a manager of a facility or responsible for inventory and product distribution, this would be something that you would be able to do from the cloud. I'll also mention recipes and orders. This is something that we're not doing right now. It's in our pipeline. But right now, recipes and orders will be view only, but that will be something that will change. We will be rolling out a recipe management, a way for you to manage your recipes from AgConnex, creating and editing recipes for single machines or across your company as well. So I think really that really kind of covers the big scope of what AgConnex is. A couple things I might mention is AgConnex is kind of, for the sake of our call today, it's primarily focused around seed and seed management. But KSi does have a bulk chemical control solution as well. And so I'll just mention that AgConnex is built to manage our bulk chemical systems as well. And so from a single application, you're able to see orders that were processed from our bulk chemical system as well. The other thing I'll mention is just around account management. I think it's important for everyone to know that Foster will be the one that actually sets up your account initially. He'll be creating an initial user. That user will be set up as a super admin, which means that user is able to create new users and assign machines to said users. So once your account is set up, you'll see an account management section here, and you're able to go into users. And in this case, I have 3 users already, but I can create a user, and then I can plug in their email, and then I can also define what user permission group they're to be a part of. So in some cases, you may want someone who only has access to manage machine data. They're not going to see transactional data. Or maybe you want someone to just see transactional data, but not be able to manage machines. And that would all be configured here through the user permissions. The other thing that will be included within AgConnex is the ability for you to actually see your own machines within your own company. So you can see here I actually have 8 machines. I'm showing 5 of them. But I can select a machine and I can see certain information about that machine. I can see when was it last online, what is the version, and is the subscription active. Once I select into a machine, I can actually see the expiration date for that machine, when the AutoTreat Plus subscription for that machine will expire. And so this is something, as you have more and more machines, this is something that's handy to be able to troubleshoot and test stuff on your own, being able to see if a machine's online, for example. The other thing I will mention is we talk about some of the data management stuff. Foster had mentioned that we do have integration partners that we work with. There are a few ag billing softwares that we are currently integrated with, and if that's something that you would be interested in, talk to Foster, and we can set up a call and discuss what would be involved in that. That really, in my opinion, is kind of that next level of management of your machines. The way that works with the partners that we've worked with, and when KSi has done the integration, and basically what I mean by KSi has done the integration is we actually have an application that kind of talks to a third party, what we would consider a third party, but it would be your billing software. We will pull in their customer list, we'll pull in their seeds list, we'll pull in their liquids list or treatment products list, and we'll send that down to the machine. And typically those syncs will run either on demand, so you'll have an ability to come in and select a machine and say sync customers or sync products, or it'll run on a time interval. So every 24 hours, those products will be sent down to the machine. So if there's any name changes or anything of that nature, that will automatically happen onto the KSi machine without you having to log into AgConnex even and change that manually. So that really kind of wraps up what I have from a demo perspective. I guess Foster, I don't know if there were any questions that came in that we would like to address or talk through. Foster, is there anything else that would be helpful for me to cover on this? If not, I will pass it back to you.
Hey, Dwayne, before you pass that on, I have a couple things I'd kind of like you to maybe clarify. You've said these things, but for this audience, one, sure. Can you define once again for this audience what we mean by machine?
Sure. So a KSi machine is actually an individual control system. So it would be a system that has all of the treating equipment, and it's typically controlled. Well, it would be controlled by a single interface. So in the case of AutoTreat, it would be you would have a Windows computer that you would actually be able to interface with and interact with, be able to start equipment, as well as set up all of the same data that you're seeing here. From that interface, you would be able to create customers, be able to create seeds, be able to create recipes. And so that's what I mean by a machine.
Excellent. Okay, and then secondly, each one of the folks who are viewing this are looking at it from their own perspective. So on this training, we have operators, we have branch managers, we have office managers, we may have production managers. Can you give an idea how a couple of those may look at this differently? So how would one person use this software versus someone else within the organization?
Sure. Yeah. So I think that if you have a plant manager, a facility manager who is responsible for products coming in and out of their specific site, this would be something that they could, have on their phone or on their computer and actually be monitoring, transactions as they're being processed. I didn't really touch on it, but there is a real-time activity like dashboard on here. And what this shows is if you select a machine or a list of machines, it will show orders as they are processed in real time. So if a new order came in, it would just pop up here. And so this would be something that you could have up on your screen and just keep seeing that, hey, I know Tony Simpson's coming in today. It looks like he got his corn. Another one would be billing. From a billing perspective, if you're not fully integrated with KSi, this would be a really a valuable tool to be able to see those orders as they're processed and begin to do the billing on the back end. That could either be triggered through like an email report, or it could be something that you're just monitoring in real time. So as you're here, you could be monitoring a specific machine. And as transactions are processed for a given day, you can see that. You can say, okay, yep, here's the customer, here was the seed, here was the lot that was used, and here's how many units were delivered. I'm going to go ahead and create that order and put that through. If you are, depending on how you bill your treatment, you may know based on the recipe name, or you may look at the individual liquids or treatment products and add those onto the bill as well. So does that answer your question, Rick?
I think so. I think so. One other thing that you had mentioned was integration.
Sure.
In many cases, this integration is involving an IT level of an API. Maybe talk just a little bit about what the difference is between that and what AgConnex is from maybe a poor man's sort of integration level. How could these customers, because they're Edge partners, they are able to use the API, but if that is not a fit for their organization, we've talked internally about how AgConnex could be used to make things more efficient or even change that workflow. If you could talk a little bit about that,
sure.
I think that would be
appreciated. Absolutely. So I think as far as the integration would go, that would be really everything would be fully automated at that point. So if you were putting an order in or a ticket into your software, your accounting software, you would define, a specific KSi machine, and that would then send that order to the KSi machine and create an order on the machine. And all the operator at that point would do is select the order and start. It would bring in the seed amount, it would bring in the recipe or the list of liquids that need to be ran with that specific seed and lot number, as well as the customer. Once that order is processed, then on the KSi side, that actually generates a transaction, a snapshot of the order, as well as everything that happened with that specific order on the KSi machine. That transaction would then be sent back to your billing software, and it would update the order that was originally created. So that would be one workflow. The other workflow is we have some scenarios where it doesn't make sense for the order to be created in the office because they have walk-ins. So the walk-in will come in, will tell the operator what order they would like to run or what seed they would like, as well as what treatment. And then that order would be created on-prem. they would have basically a checkbox. They'd say this is an integrated order. They would, and then when that transaction is done, it would actually push an order back into the billing software. In a case where you're not integrated, Rick, as you had mentioned, maybe it's not a good fit. What a similar workflow would be, the person who puts the order in the office may actually log into AgConnex, go to orders, and create that order right here. So rather than have to communicate down to the operator, hey, this order, they could come in here and actually create that order with inside of AgConnex. That order would show up on-prem for the operator. The operator would select that order and process it out. That transaction would then either, the person who created that order originally would either come to the transaction summary, see what was actually processed, say, yep, that's the order that was created in my billing software, reconcile the two and update as needed. Or if it was just created on-prem, the billing, the person responsible for billing could just be monitoring this and seeing those orders come through and create bills for those, right from this platform without having to wait for a paper receipt to show up of what was actually delivered from the machine. Does that cover that?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that is helpful. And as we've mentioned, if someone needs more information, they can always contact Foster and have him walk through their specific situation. So one final thing from me, if you could just give a little bit of the timeline for those who are watching. When does this kind of become live, and knowing that not all the features will be there right away, what's a little bit of the timeline that they can expect for their machine? Sure.
So AgConnex is live today. All of the transaction analytics section portion of this is available today. If you work with Foster, get an account set up. We might need to make, I would want to work with Foster and just make sure everything gets set up correctly. You would have access to all of your historical transaction information. You would also have access to setting up accounts and managing users and user machine associations. When it comes to machine management, this is something that we're hoping will be rolled out early next year, either at the end of this year or early next year. So you'll be able to go in and create customer seeds, treatment products. And in addition to that, something that I didn't really mention, it's not currently deployed yet, but it's in our pipeline, is to be able to actually manage customers and seeds and products through an import. So you can actually import a CSV of all of your customers. And it'll be fairly intelligent, where if it finds duplicates, it will try to merge them, or it'll let you know how to merge that. So it's something you could do on a regular basis without having to worry about messing things up. And then when it comes to reporting and analytics, that's something that I would be a little bit hesitant to say that will for sure be ready this spring. It's something we would like to see ready, especially the reporting aspect. I think the alerting aspect, the alerting feature, that may be something that we might end up seeing in more the 6-month time frame. So that's kind of what we have from a timeline.